Welcome to this brief review of Catholic moral teachings about the values Christians hold in the area of sexuality and relationships. Before we proceed with our training in teaching catechesis for family life to the children, let us take time for a quick review of the teachings of our Church on matters of morality, marriage, and sexuality.
As teachers of the faith, we need to know what Catholics believe and why we believe as we do about morality. This background knowledge is essential for presenting lessons authentically. We want to be able to say, "I believe this," not only "the Church teaches this." We are the voice of the Church in our classroom. The lessons we will teach children will not go to the same depth as the lessons for adults would, but we are assisting their parents in laying a foundation for their future. This presentation is based on the Catechism of the Catholic Church. The Catechism is a sure guide for us in our task. Following this presentation, you will find a resource with references to the Catechism on the topics discussed here. When reading the Catechism, be careful to look at the context of the quote in order to better understand how it fits within the whole Christian message.
The following section on Catholic morality is offered here for your own information as a catechist, so let us review. What is morality? Morality is what one must do to act humanly. Our moral decisions will shape the kind of person we become. Morality is a human question. God has made us free to make choices. We are responsible for learning how to make the right choices about serious questions. A moral person expresses his or her sexuality within the context of their core values. Character is about more than what I am allowed to do or what is just right or wrong. It is about what kind of person I am. We want to be good persons, not just do good acts or avoid trouble. As Catholic educator Father William O'Malley puts it, every relationship, no matter how profound or trivial, is a moral relationship, because at least one member of the relationship is human.
The Christian tradition teaches us a formula for making moral decisions. If we are honest with ourselves, we will take the time to consult church teachings and other reliable sources. We need to pray to the Holy Spirit for guidance. Jesus said, "I will be with you always." Then we need to trust God to make good on this pledge. In the end, we must make a decision. Was it the right decision? We must periodically revisit our decisions and assess them. Have I chosen the right path? Have I been honest about this with myself? We must follow our consciences, and we want to form our conscience well so that it can guide us properly. That means being willing to ask questions and study issues that we are facing.
Pope John Paul, in his exhortation on the family, describes learning to live the moral life as a process of lifelong growth through moral decision making. He said, "Man, day by day, builds himself up through his many free decisions. And so he knows, loves, and accomplishes moral good by stages of growth." We recognize that a person's maturity affects his or her ability to choose wisely, and that choosing wisely builds maturity.
The principles of Catholic social teaching are usually discussed when we talk about relations among nations or between employers and workers. However, the same standards apply in personal relationships too. Proper use of sexuality will uphold these principles. Valuing the life and dignity of the human person, following the call to family, community, and participation in society, valuing human rights and our responsibilities to self and others, giving a preferential option for the poor and vulnerable, which means that we consider their needs first. We stand in solidarity with those who are struggling, and we are committed to the care of God's creation. These are the key principles that we want our children to embrace in order to live as disciples of Jesus. We believe that faithful disciples can make a difference in the world for the good of all people.
Sexuality is a part of who we are as men and women. Our sexuality is the natural and God-given drive in each person that seeks relationship with other people. We are called to witness to Christian values in every relationship in our lives. Inappropriate sexual activity is not telling the truth with our bodies. Modesty is related to chastity because it is about appropriate behavior. Acting and dressing modestly respects other people by refraining from arousing their sexual desires inappropriately. Chastity is not the same as celibacy. Celibacy is the promise to remain unmarried. Every person, married or single, is called to live chastely, which means using their sexuality in the way proper to their state in life.
Christians uphold human dignity. We sin when we know something is wrong but choose it anyway. When we sin, we are not living up to God's vision for our good. People will fall short of God's vision, yet we believe that God's mercy is deep and generous, and we can decide to change our behaviors and attitudes with God's help. Pope John Paul said, "Man cannot live without love. Otherwise, he remains a being that is incomprehensible to himself. His life is senseless if love is not revealed to him, if he does not encounter love and make it his own."
Pope John Paul taught about the goodness of human love. He said the body, in fact, and it alone, is capable of making visible what is invisible, the spiritual and divine. He also said, the body is sacramental, revelatory of the mystery of creation and the mystery of the Creator.
Marriage for Christians is a sign of God's love and faithfulness, a mutual partnership of life and love. We believe that marriage in the Lord is both unique and exclusive, including both physical and emotional faithfulness. We believe that genital sexual activity has its greatest potential for bringing about good when in the context of sacramental marriage between a man and a woman. We also believe that marriage must be open to children. Marital sexual relations are meant to be both unitive, which means for the loving bond of the couple, and procreative, giving life.
We care about families. The Christian community is responsible to support and assist couples experiencing difficulties in marriage. We show compassion and understanding to the children in our care who are experiencing family discord. When a marriage ends in divorce, all in the family experience this loss. The separation of spouses can be legitimate in certain cases, especially when the safety of the spouse or children is at stake. No one is required to stay in an abusive situation, and the Christian community should help them. Sometimes couples enter marriage unprepared to give a free and mature consent to the promises they make. This situation can impede the marriage from being the sign of God's love that it is intended to be. In such a case, the church may grant an annulment after a civil divorce, which means that, although the marriage was a reality, it was not a sacrament. Annulment does not affect the legitimacy of the children. Our bishops express the compassionate response that we should have for all families in distress. They said, "A family is holy not because it is perfect, but because God's grace is at work in it."
Christian married couples promise to be open to children if they are able to have them. They must make responsible decisions about having children, so that they may properly care for them and educate them. All methods of birth regulation and reproductive assistance must respect the marriage bond. The regulation of births must be done in a way that respects the value that the husband and wife are able to give themselves to one another completely whenever they come together in the marriage act. Natural family planning respects marriage. The couple can learn natural methods of family planning that teach them when the wife is likely to conceive, so that they may use or abstain from sex at that time.
Let's consider the question of sexual relations without marriage. Casual sex is not total self-giving. Although cohabitation, living together without marriage, has become common, it is not a substitute for the commitment of marriage. Cohabiting couples are not acting in accord with our core values about marriage. Adultery is breaking the marriage vows and a betrayal of trust. It hurts the rest of the community, as well as the spouses and children. Those who teach young people should understand why we teach that masturbation is not good. A habit of self-gratification can delay a person's development toward sexual maturity. Adults should be pastorally sensitive about this subject, not condemning the person. We want to guide young people toward sexual maturity and healthy relationships without guilt, shame, or discouragement. We are called to use the gift of our sexuality wisely and in accord with Christian principles. Pope John Paul explains that the misuse of sex can scarcely ensure mutual sincerity and fidelity in a relationship. Human love demands a total and definitive gift of persons to one another.
On the subject of homosexuality, we believe that sexual orientation is not the same as sexual acts. Homosexual persons are called to live chastely. We do not make a judgment about the cause of same-sex attraction, but we counsel families and church communities to compassionate care for all. The Catechism clearly says that homosexual persons must be treated with kindness and respect, and that unjust discrimination must be avoided. Our bishops, in their statement, "Always our children," tell church leaders, catechists, and teachers to offer an outstretched hand to homosexual persons and their families, offering them a fresh look at the grace present in family life and the unfailing mercy of Christ our Lord. The bishops say, welcome homosexual persons into the faith community and seek out those at the margins. Avoid stereotyping and condemning.
We believe in the equal dignity of each person, whether male or female. Women and men each possess unique gifts, which they can use in partnership in both family and community. Chastity guides men and women to relate to one another appropriately and respectfully. The equality of men and women, made in the image and likeness of God, is a crucial teaching for helping people prepare for healthy relationships. We believe that married partners should have equal regard for one another. Domestic violence, the domination of women by men, is often abetted by a misuse of biblical verses that seem to call women less than men. As Catholics, we clearly uphold mutual respect between men and women and condemn abuse and oppression.
Our goal in Catechesis for Family Life is to set Christian standards for behavior in relationships. After reflecting on what we as Catholics believe about sexual morality, we are reminded that these teachings are life-giving. Children see and hear many messages that are at odds with Christian values. They are naturally curious about sexual matters, and we must guide the children to talk with their parents about these questions. Our values promote a peaceful and strong culture in which to raise our children. The wider society has answers for them, often answers we do not agree with. Let us tell children the truth about love, marriage, and relationships. We have good news to share. This is the end of the review of Christian morality. You will proceed now to the next activity, which is a review handout with references for the Catechism of the Catholic Church on the topics discussed in this segment. The handout is posted in this section of the course.